I smacked someone's boob accidentally when I was a kid. Alright, before I explain how this happened, I need to give you some context first. So I'm sure all of you have some weird habits when you were a kid, whether it was tapping your head against your school bus seat, eating things you shouldn't eat, or whatever this is. For me, I really like swinging my arms randomly. Now normally, this wouldn't be a problem. In fact, this is more normal than most of the things I've read on Reddit. But I really shouldn't have swung my arms when there were girls around, especially when we are in a narrow room. That was exactly what happened. So we were having some kind of team building activity in primary school. I forgot what it is. That's not important. But at some point, I got really excited in the activity and started swinging my arms. And unfortunately, the angular momentum of my arm was so large that it hit something I really shouldn't hit before I could stop it. The worst part, the whole room of people saw what I did. The teacher immediately scolded me, and I had to apologize to the girl and assure her this was only an accident, which it was, I assure you. But still, one of the worst moments in my childhood. There was a time in my childhood when I couldn't resist pranking other kids I didn't know on the street. I would touch their hair as they walked past me and escape before they could react. And to this day, I still have no idea of why I would do this. And this karma caught up with me pretty soon. One afternoon, I was in the toilet and this kid was next to me washing his hands. So, as usual, I took out my hand and gave his head a quick pat. He glared at me for a short while and then left. And just when I thought this was an unusual prank I could get away with, the kid came back to the toilet again. But behind him was a big tall guy, his dad. He pointed at me, so his dad just angrily asked me why I would do that. I said I pat his head accidentally. And yeah, I know lying is wrong, but I just wanted to save myself from further trouble at that moment. And I did apologize to the kid. It was during COVID, and we're still having online lessons on Zoom, including music. Personally, I have no idea how we can have music lessons online. Every time the music teacher wanted us to sing a song together, it became a disaster. Every student would be required to open their mics, but half of them refused to do so. And then for those who were willing to demonstrate their singing talent, their beautiful voice were gonna get completely destroyed by the horrible audio quality. So in the end, it would just become a cluster of chaotic noise. So eventually, the music teacher simply gave up and replaced our singing session with a PowerPoint slide presentation. Anyway, I hate music lessons, so I didn't even bother to listen, and I just chat with my friends on Zoom most of the time. Now you might ask, why would I use Zoom, not Discord or Instagram? Why would I take the risk when I could easily avoid it? I have no idea, man. I guess I was super confident that I wouldn't send a message to the public accidentally, which was exactly what happened. And the moment I realized something was wrong, it was already too late. I couldn't delete my message, and worse, the message was a cringe joke. 5 seconds later, the teacher just stopped talking midway, stared at the screen, and called out my name. But this is not the cringiest part, because she knew I was sending this to my friend. She also demanded me to give out the name of the receiver, and of course, I refused to do so. I refused to be a rat. So I told her I just sent this message to the whole chat for no reason. Unfortunately, the teacher didn't want to waste more time figuring this out, so she only punished me. That was until she saw one of my friends laughing at me on her screen. Yeah, apparently, that friend couldn't hold his laughter while his camera was still on, and when the teacher saw him, she thought he was somehow involved in this, which was not true, and gave him the same punishment as mine. Instant karma. Now the last thing I want to talk about might not be as dramatic as the others, but actually is equally cringe as the others. Maybe it's even cringier. And this is all because of one single facial expression from my classmate. Let me explain. One year, I volunteered as a student tour guide for my primary school's open house. My one job was to demonstrate my warmth and friendliness when I was introducing my school. So I've got this little kindergarten kid and his mother as my customers. As we were walking towards the library, the kid suddenly started shouting, and I instinctively shushed him. Now you might think, what was the problem? The problem was that this was supposed to be the mother's job, not mine. I was supposed to be the friendly tour guide. And when my classmate behind me, who was also a tour guide at that time, saw what I did, he just stared at me and shook his head. And to this day, I still remember his look, which makes me cringe. I don't know why. Maybe it's because of the silent judgment he gave me, which left me with limitless imagination of how he was thinking. Was he angry at me for not doing my job properly, or disappointed by my attitude as a tour guide? I have no idea. Or maybe it's because he was my peer. Normally, if it were your parent or teacher judging what you did, you could simply brush it off by thinking, whatever, they're just being strict or they're just trying to be an authority figure. But when a classmate of the same age as you judged you for what you did wrong, the impact just feels harder. It's like you couldn't even live up to that standard. So of course, as I grow up, I realized most of these insane speculations are all in my mind, and that classmate probably had forgotten about this long ago. But still, the memory of his look gives me cringe to this day. Thanks for watching. This is Mr. Machine.